So not many authors can claim that their books are bestsellers before they're even published, but Dan Brown's eager fans pre-ordered so many copies of his latest thriller, Inferno, that it became an instant chart topper.
The book sees the return of the Harvard hero, Robert Langdon, who must prevent a deadly virus spreading across the world. Dan's here to tell us more about it. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, Robert Langdon, of course, we described him earlier as a fictional symbologist.
Yes, which I guess is a little redundant. I mean, symbologist is it's a fictional field. He would be a semiotician or a iconographer.
Yeah.
So
symbology is a made-up discipline.
It's a made-up word to describe the discipline of iconography.
Yeah, but it's an important one, of course, and it's key to your books because they are sort of codes to be cracked, aren't they?
They are indeed. My fans love codes, and I grew up with codes and symbols. My dad was a big math guy, and I love codes.
And this one takes, as its sort of guide to the code, a very old book, Dante's Inferno, or the Divine Comedy by Dante. Just, you know, for those of us who haven't read it
recently.
Just to describe what that is and why that was the book that inspired you.
I have written a lot about the fine arts, but I'd never written about the literary arts. So Dante, on some level, called to me as something new and fresh and exciting. Dante's Inferno was the first part of the Divine Comedy, which was written in the 1300s by Dante Alighieri. It describes, it's an epic poem, I mean, enormous, 14,322 lines long, describing Dante's travels, his journey down through hell, through Purgatory, and out into paradise. It interested me because I found out while writing Da Vinci Code that Dante is the one who really inspired our modern Christian vision of hell. You know, the Bible talks about hell ethereally. Greek mythology talks about it a little bit more specifically, but it wasn't until Dante that we had this amazing, vivid, codified, structured vision of hell.
So just tell it, because he describes certain levels of hell.
Yes.
I mean, it's pretty gruesome, isn't it?
Beyond pretty gruesome. It's awful.
So go through, if we go wrong in life, how does Dante describe these levels of hell that we're going to face?
It depends what you do wrong. That's the great thing about Inferno. He uses something called contrapasso, which means literally the opposite of what you did. Meaning, if you are, for example, a soothsayer in life, you sin by seeing the future. In hell, they put your head on backwards so you can only see behind you. The punishment always fits the crime.
Okay. Robert Langdon, then, at the beginning of Inferno, wakes up somewhere he wasn't expecting to be. One moment he's in Harvard, I think, and then he finds himself in Florence in a hospital room, which is all very confusing for him.
Right.
But the great thing about what you do is that presumably when you go and research, you spend a lot of time in Florence to begin with.
I always pick places I want to go.
That's right. Exactly.
I wrote one book, Deception Point, set at the Arctic Circle, and that was a mistake. So I learned, and I came back to Florence.
Sites in the Arctic Circle, shouldn't he?
So he has this extraordinary trip through Florence and other places as well, in the company of a rather lovely
She is
doctor.
lovely and interesting, quite bright.
Yeah, and it's a lovely look at, you know, Florence and how beautiful it is, and some of the secrets of Florence. There are big overarching themes as well that this book, I mean, you manage to sort of cover a lot of ground here. And it seems almost, when you get to one of the main themes of the book, which is, are there too many people in the world?
Yes.
It seems slightly at odds with the sort of story that you began to tell about Dante and about hell and about Florence.
Yes.
So is this something...
I'm always trying to take disparate themes and tie them together.
Right.
That's one of the things I love to do. That's what symbologists do. They look at symbols and they find connections. In the last 85 years, the population on planet Earth has tripled. We add 200,000 new people every day. Overpopulation is the issue of the future, the issue to which all of our other sort of environmental issues are keyed. So for me, to read Dante's Inferno, and to see that some of these levels of hell, where there are bodies writhing in hunger and pain and overcrowding, and have that really mimic and perhaps prophesy what's ahead for us, that's where I see the tie. And the villain in this novel sees Dante's Inferno not as history, but as prophecy.
Are we heading for hell because there are too many people on the planet?
I mean, we're starting to see some. Well, maybe. I mean, this is not an activist book, but I talk to a lot of activists, talk to a lot of futurists, scientists, and they're all very, very concerned about the rate of population growth.
There may be some people that you'd like to consign to hell would be the critics. Because here's a prophecy: any book you write is going to sell a gazillion copies, and is going to have a mixed reaction, to put it mildly, from the critics.
Mixed may be generous here in the UK.
I was trying to be diplomatic. Right. But does that bother you?
You know what? I set out to write the book that I would want to read. When you're a creative person, whether you're an author, a painter, a musician, all you have is your own taste. So I set out to write a book that's to my taste, and then I just hope people share my taste.
And fortunately for you, it fits a lot of other people's tastes. So.
Apparently, a lot of people share my taste. They like to read the sorts of things that I like to read. You know, some of your critics here are not those people, apparently. So, you know, life goes on.
When you say some of your critics here, do you mean there's a specific issue with critics in the UK?
The books across my country and elsewhere in the world get much better reviews than they do here in the UK.
Really?
It seems sort of to be sport to kick me around a bit. So.
Yeah.